So today, it is with a lot of pleasure that I introduce to you State Senator Bill Dodd. I'll give you his official bio, but we specifically wanted Senator Dodd to come because there is no more experienced state senator than Senator Bill Dodd in the area of wildfire, recovery, and disasters. This has been a learning curve for all of us, and his district, the way that it spans, means that he's on that learning curve about every 20 minutes since 2015 about. I wanted him to come here to share his best lessons with you, best practices, and just we have Plumas County in the house too, Supervisor Kevin Goss back there. But also to answer your questions. And so the way we're going to structure this is he's going to talk for about 10 minutes, 12 minutes, and then he's going to take your questions. So I'm going to give you his official bio. You ready? Okay, because he already knows all of this. Right, abridged. He represents District 3, so he is also my state senator. We like that. He was elected in 2016 and re-elected in 2020 to represent California's 3rd Senate District. He is a 5th-generation Californian and lifelong resident of the district, where he grew up on a small family farm in Napa County. We have a lot of rural communities here, so he can certainly relate to that. The district includes all of Napa and Solano counties and portions of Contra Costa, Sacramento, Sonoma, and Yolo counties. He serves as the chair of the Governmental Organization Committee and is a member of the Transportation Committee, the Energy, Utilities, and Communications Committee, and the Insurance Committee. He is co-chair, of the Senate Select Committee on California's Wine Industry and the Legislative Delta Caucus. Prior to his election, he represented the 4th Assembly District, where he worked on small businesses, protecting the environment, and supporting seniors and working families. He advanced a balanced, sustainable budget, investing in our education system from preschool to higher education. And before that, he served on the Napa County Board of Supervisors for 14 years. That's really important when you're talking about wildfire recovery because it's local. It's an honor for us to have State Senator Bill Dodd, and welcome. Thank you. Bill, I'm just going to hand you mine. It's fine.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you, Jennifer. Appreciate the opportunity to be here today. I do have some prepared remarks, but I just think I really appreciated some of the comments, ad-lib comments on the introduction. It's really amazing. When I got in the legislature, I had no idea that I would ever be on the Energy Utilities Committee, the committee that has all the emergency services on it, insurance and energy committees. But the pro tem knew what I lived through in 2017, just as a start. And actually in 2015, as an assembly member with Lake County, was just pretty crazy for all the years that Lake County has been through it. And they often get overlooked up there, and I'm telling you, they probably more than any other county have had it year after year after year, and with no relief. But nevertheless, I never thought that I would be doing legislation on insurance and wildfire and prevention and all these things. So it's really, I think Jennifer said it really right. When you're called on and you're a public servant, you got to step up and learn these issues. And the other issues on our electrical utilities and why in the hell we continue to get burnt by the same match or source, time and time again in this state, and trying to do the things necessary to help in that regard. So I appreciated that. Literally spending half of my career as a state legislator addressing these issues. Obviously now this has become an issue that's near and dear to my heart. Not only because of the communities, but also you can't be around people. In the 2017 fires, the Alice fire, had 154 of my neighbors burned to the ground. and the fire came within 3 houses of mine, and just because of ridiculous weather, wind patterns, my house was spared. And so living through all this and seeing the pain and suffering that my constituents had, my neighbors had, it kind of motivates me, to do more every single day. But you all recall the devastating, deadly wildfires that engulfed a large part of these 2 counties, Napa and Sonoma Counties, in 2017. And, those things really did, for whatever reason, place me squarely in the middle of the legislative discussions on what the state should be doing to not only increase public safety going forward, but what policies going forward should really be changed in order to achieve our objectives. In 2018, I authored Senate Bill SB 901, which addressed 2 key issues: reducing the threat of electric utility spark wildfires and better forest management practices. In firefighting terms, we needed to work on both the ignition sources and the fuels. That bill was a commitment that the state would spend $200 million annually, $1 billion over 5 years on wildfire prevention and protection. In 2018, the legislature thought that $1 billion spread over 5 years would make a substantial difference in the frequency, intensity, and geographic scope of our future wildfires. Boy, were we wrong. Seriously. We quickly saw that in 2019, the scope and intensity of wildfires increased beyond our expectations. The state was now spending as much as $3 billion in a single year for wildfire suppression. It really became clear to me that the old state wildfire prevention and protection budget, which was only a fraction of the amount being spent on suppression, would never turn the tide on bigger wildfires occurring. Without more emphasis on prevention, the state's wildfire crises would grow exponentially. My Senate colleagues and I worked with Governor Newsom and agreed to quickly ramp up protection and prevention spending to match the growth spending on fighting wildfires. We haven't quite gotten there, but that's our goal. In the spring of 2021, the legislature sent the governor a package of wildfire expenditures totaling $536 million. That was a advance wildfire expenditure early action. And that early action plan was followed by appropriating another $1.5 billion in June of 2021, allocated in the categories of forest health, community protection, environmental enhancement, and innovation. And knowing that climate change and drought will keep raising the severe risk of high fire intensity of wildfires, the legislature and governor have added yet another $1.4 billion this budget year and next. And that's nearly $3 billion over 3 years for wildfire prevention and protection, compared to just $200 million in 2019. And folks in this room share some credit for pushing it to those historic levels as well. But we, as you all know, I'm going to kind of riff off of these, and I'll probably conflict here with what's happening as a result of that. But nevertheless, it was critically important that we do that because we have the money, or this year we had the money to do it. With this economy, no one knows what's coming up next, but having that money and knowing that money will roll over. We've had discussions with the governor, and there's a lot of things, a lot of this money, frankly, can't be spent just because by the time you get it out, we know that money is going to roll over to future years. And one of my big kicks in the budget is if that rolls over to a new year, I want to make sure that this money, and I'll be fighting for that, continues to stay in the buckets or the silos that it's in right now. But the additional investment will focus on resilient forest landscapes, home hardening, prescribed burning, CAL FIRE recruitment and training, wildfire prevention research, and more. In addition to more funding, the state legislature has made policy changes to further the effectiveness of financial investments, and that's critically important. We all know prescribed burning is a critical part of any effective forest management program, and we need more good fire. California has partnered with the U.S. Forest Service and agreed to scale up to 1 million acres of prescribed burning per year to achieve effective forest management. We all know that that's had its challenge. When we had our 500,000 acre goal just here in the state of California, that we didn't meet anywhere near. And there's some challenges to that. And Rome wasn't built in a day, wasn't built in a night, probably wasn't, who knows how long it was built, but hey, where's Logan, my speechwriter? He should have put that in there, how long it took. But we can't take that long, even seriously, we can't take that long to make sure that we have what it takes to get ahead of this situation. But the threat of liability has minimized the amount of prescribed burns among professional burn bosses and property owners, and that's simply unacceptable. To address that problem, I authored SB 332 last year, which changed the liability standard in the event a prescribed burn escapes the controlled burn area. Additionally, this year, the legislature also appropriated $20 million to stand up a fund for prescribed fire claims. It's a pilot program to assist covering the costs of burn bosses or any liability claims a burn boss or property owner might face. And this year I authored SB 926 that set all the ground rules about how that claims fund would operate. Prescribed burns now have one less obstacle. Hopefully, taken together with these bills, will kickstart more prescribed burning across the state of California, because we all know from your applause and everything just how important that is. We've also seen some projects right here in the Sonoma Valley helping protect parklands and restore native ecology. 2 years ago, I became concerned that CAL FIRE did not have a comprehensive program for testing new wildfire-related technology that could advance the science of preventing and detecting wildfires. I can't tell you how many people came to my office to try to sell me this firefighting system, this chemical, this camera system, and I'm going, Jesus, where is there some place, sorry about that, I shouldn't have said that, but at any rate, is there some place in the state of California where there's a go-to place where they can vet this technology, where you're not having elected officials determining what the best technology is? Because that also seems kind of, sleazy in a way too. You want the best professionals that really understand this stuff, making the decisions on if if there's an efficacy in the technology that they're putting forth. So I was able to start the what's it called now, the Office of Wildfire Technology and Research and Development. That was SB 901, which had a $9 million opening budget to evaluate the new many wildfire protection products and techniques that were developed. So that's something I feel very proud about. Now we still get these guys that want to come in and and talk to us about it. And I'm not opposed to hearing about it, because I think it's good that we understand that there's technologies out there, and it also keeps perhaps the new department on their toes. And when we ask questions about this, it's important for them to know that we know that there are other technologies, and we need to be vetting everything, because technology almost in every other, this fly is just killing me here, every other agency in the state of California, any other industry, is really at the heart of new innovation. It's new innovation that really is helping advance technologies in every single industry. There's no reason why it shouldn't, and it's not in this industry. But I think it's important to point out that state and local governments can only do so much to enhance safety from wildfire. Individual home and property owners have to do their part as well, and we know providing defensible space around homes and making fire-safe improvements to homes is key to enhancing safety. And let me tell you, I'm so proud, and whether you call them fire-wise councils or not in your counties that you're in, what would we do without these people? In my mind, getting money and getting budget into local areas that know their area better than anybody is a key to our success. And that's what we need to continue doing. Thank you, is working with our local communities to make sure they're the ones that are in control. And sure, we need the professionals at CAL FIRE or fire chiefs, whether they're CAL FIRE or not, to be there to vet those, what they're doing, to make sure that they, jive, so to speak, with the science behind, everything. That's really important that everybody's working together. But they are working together. I've seen it firsthand. I see Chief Aker out here. I see other CAL FIRE people as well. It's really critically important that they're all working harmoniously, and I've had no complaints. I represent 22 cities and 6 counties, no complaints. The work that's being done by our councils and the powers in the fire service area has been nothing more, from my standpoint, than exemplary. If there's anybody who has any differing opinion, I'd love to hear it, because what we always wanted to do is continuous improvement in every single thing we do. But we can't fix what we don't know about. So this year I authored SB 856, which rewards jurisdictions that step up defensible space inspections and report that data in a publicly available format. That gives, once you get everything data driven, now with machine learning and everything, they know areas throughout the state of California, locally where we have, great confidence that we've done a great job, but you also know, until you get it done, where the areas are that we're vulnerable. And that is something that we've never had before. And frankly, had we had this type of information earlier on with some of the fires that we've had, they might not have been as damaging. In conjunction with that effort, Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara is implementing the Department of Insurance Safety from Wildfire regulations, which direct property insurance companies to price insurance according to the types of steps a property owner has taken to keep their property safe. People should be rewarded for doing the right thing that is safe for all of us. Are there any insurance people here? Come on, don't be afraid if you're here, because I may riff on the industry here in a second if you're not here. You just raise your hand. All right, well, whoever's here, I applaud you for coming, for showing up, for really understanding what's going on in our communities, because this is critical to our success in the future. And to the insurance companies that aren't here today, shame on them. Shame on them for not being there. Shame on them for making it tougher for us to pass bills in Sacramento which protect victims in these awful wildfires that we've had. But nevertheless, I think ideas Insurance Commissioner Lara has had, plus the bills that we've had, none of the bills, frankly, including all mine, all by themselves is a silver bullet. Frankly, all by themselves, they're nothing. But put together, I think they're a patchwork quilt, if you will, of tools that we can use in our communities that are really, at the end of the day, going to help. And they're really going to direct the attention that we're giving wildfires and, to the administration as well. So I think it's incredibly important. And insurance companies, I wish you would just show up more often to see the effort that's going on, because it's you in the room that are working on these particular projects on community hardening, not just an individual home. We all know that's great, but that's really not going to get it done. We need community hardening, community defensible space, as well as the individual as well. So combining public and private initiatives like these will only strengthen the wildfire prevention investments that I highlighted earlier. And I said it before, will all these investments and policy initiatives make a difference in wildfire protection and prevention? Again, I think we're starting to see progress, but our job, just like your job, frankly, it's never going to be done. It's like painting the Golden Gate Bridge. You start at one end, you start painting, you get all the way to the end, and guess what? You got to go back and start all over again. And until we get a handle on climate change, and we all know what it's like to get a handle on Mother Nature, how have we done so far? Not very well. But until we get a handle on it, this is something that's in our future. And, I continually to tell the director of finance, the governor, anybody in the governor knows this. But it's seriously, these budget asks that we have right now are not going to stop. They've got to go on for decades, or we're never going to get the handle on it we need. We've seen in the fire burn scars that we've had in 2015 in Lake County, 16, 7. I mean, they've had it year in and year out through Napa, through Sonoma, Paradise. This stuff is growing back, and it's growing back fast, so we have to stay ahead of it. So I do believe it will make a difference in the long run. We are trying to get ahead of climate change, as I said. Given the pace that the natural world is changing, our challenge is daunting. And again, without the whole community and all of us working together, it's not going to happen. But we can't give up. We're all in this together. Wildfire affects every single person in my district, and frankly, it affects every single person, almost 40 million people in the state of California, because it's not just the immediate impacts of the flames. We've seen with the fire. I'm telling you, I've never seen Lake Tahoe Basin clear out faster, and there wasn't even a fire in that basin. The air quality was so horrible. I couldn't believe the traffic on the way home. It was a mass exodus, and I was leaving for another event down here on a Saturday afternoon. So I pledge to keep working on this issue, but the legislature and the governor need your support as well. And we need to continue to hear your voices at the state capitol and local government. Your tweets that you do, your social media, presence, and your calls and your letters are incredibly important. But it's really, for me, it's very, very amazing to meet the people that are doing this incredible work. And I just appreciate the opportunity to be here today to speak with you. And I'm all yours for as long as you want. I think, Ezra, I don't, but within reason. Let's do this.
Okay. Thank you. I think hello? Nope, I don't think. Hello? Nope. Okay, not this one.
We can share.
Oh, it's fine now. They know more stuff about tech than I do. I know nothing about tech. I know it'll shock you after 2 full days with me. So we are going to take about 5 minutes to do a little question and answer, and I'm going to head right over to Chelsea. Here I come. And thank you, Senator Dodd, for the extra time.
Hi, Senator. My name is Chelsea Irvine, and I'm so happy that you're here. I live in Butte County, where the Camp Fire happened just about 4 years ago. And I'm actually from Sacramento and moved to Butte County after the fire. I was working for the federal government for that agency nobody wants to mention, the SBA, and decided to move there. And the first thing that I noticed when I went there and started working in economic development was that the legislature doesn't realize that California exists above Sacramento. There's absolutely no voice for the challenges of the region, the opportunities of the region, the recovery from the Camp Fire, then the North Complex fire, then the Dixie fire, then all the other fires. And while I appreciate the legislature's efforts to help with the process, I found that every single great idea is full of roadblocks. And that's why for our mobile construction training workforce initiative, there's no state funding. There's no state participation in that. It's all private funding and even federal funding. The state's not there at all. All of the really great ideas and things that are happening have no state footprint in it whatsoever. So, and as you mentioned, there's so much money because of COVID, and that's great, and I love seeing money falling from planes. None of that money is having an impact on the recovery from the Camp Fire and these other fires, especially the North Complex fire, which doesn't have nearly the resources that we do. So I'm curious, we're making all these efforts at policy change. Have there been any discussions about inviting a room of survivors, of people doing the boots on the ground work, to come and give you regular, every 6 month updates on the recovery? Because I think when I've talked to legislative staffers and I say, we lost 19,000 homes in the last 4 years and we've rebuilt, 4,000, And if I feel like when we say that, they're like, wait a minute, it's been 4 years. Aren't you guys like done with your recovery? And it's not even close. And there's a lot of challenges that I think if your colleagues understood them a little bit better and understood that the policy decisions that they're making have like real impacts on people who are rebuilding, like Jen and like Amy, and the work that Shauna does with Chip. And I think if you really heard those stories and your colleagues heard those stories, there could maybe be a shift in actually helping and getting this thing done, because as Jennifer is saying all day, this is our new normal, and you know it's our new normal, and it's only going to get worse. So I'm just curious if you and your colleagues might think about hearing from the people in this room and really doing that like hard work to make sure that every other community where this happens, it's not going to take 25 years to rebuild, and it's going to really be a little less hard. Because the other thing that's really challenging is that these rural communities in Northern California, they don't have the capacity to write a 40-page grant application to get $50,000 to help with their nonprofit. They just can't do it. And they can't do the reporting requirements, things like that, where there could be little changes. And so that was a long-winded way of saying, do you think you could welcome a group of these fire survivors and really boots on the ground people to bend your ear for a little while and regularly?
Well, absolutely. That's what we do. And I think that, I don't think you're going to get all 40 senators, in a room to be talked to. I mean, that's not going to happen. But generally, I try to stay through my staff and everything really close to my district. The Sonoma, in the fires, for me, it's all about Sonoma County, Napa County, and Solano County. And so to the extent that we are close to the ground in the communities, it's really, and I've thought that, particularly up in Northern California, Senators Dolly and Nielsen seem to be, really closely dialed in. James Gallagher in Butte County seems to be really dialed in. Unfortunately, they're from the other party, and that doesn't always resonate. But sometimes that's what we're here for, because look at these wildfires, they don't know blue or red. And the idea that that should stand in the way is ridiculous. And that idea that happens in a red district will very much happen in a blue district if we're not careful. So I think always being able and willing to listen is critically important. It is a concern to me. I heard the other day, even in Napa County, we've only built back 25%. A lot of that, though, is people, look, we know we have problems with insurance. We know in a lot of those areas, particularly more in Northern California, no insurance. We know how screwed up the PG&E settlement is, what they've done, and there's reasons behind it. But when you're a victim, those reasons fall really shallow and empty. What they want is they want results. So to that extent, and I think the issue also with grants, that should be an easy one to find, particularly for lower income communities. We should be providing grants or monies for grant writers so that you can compete. So we'd love to talk to you. That was also a long-winded response to your question.
And you all know a girl who can make that happen, just so you know. Last question, we have about a minute or 2 minutes from Margot Robbins.
Thank you. I'd like to thank you, Senator Dodd, for the legislation that you moved forward and was successful in getting past the SB 332 gross negligence, as well as the claims fund, is probably two of the most critical pieces of legislation that moves forward our ability to put fire on the ground and to up the pace and scale of that. I'm wondering if if you guys have any plans to increase that 20 million fund, and also if there are any plans to incentivize insurance companies to come back into the market to offer fire liability insurance to fire practitioners.
It's going to depend on, I think we're going to need some practice here, so probably not this next budget year, I wouldn't expect, although we'll be at the table asking for it. Because look, at just doubling that amount to $40 million will be, will be a boon, for the program. And then also, I think there's always room for improvement. I can't remember I lost my train of thought because I looked at Jennifer, and I know the time is burning here.
Sorry. It's that, I was a high school teacher for a decade, and it never leaves me. So what was the name of the program that you were talking about?
The claims fund?
Oh, well, we've all lost our train of thought because it's 4:00.
Yeah.
It's fine. Oh, I know. Hey, Bill.
So the claims fund, yeah.
Yeah.
More money.
Yeah, more money. Senator, what are you most proud of over the last couple of years that you've accomplished in your office for wildfire survivors?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm the most proud because I've got an amazing staff led by my chief of staff in the back. I'm not being gratuitous, Ezra Shaban. We have a team of 16 people. People think, oh, their senator's so great or whatever. We're not jack without the people that work behind us every single day and fielding those calls from people that are on the other line crying. I don't field those calls, but they're fielding them every single day. And, it's critically important that we continue those efforts, and they need to be from every office throughout the state of California because people still are suffering. People are depressed. They had COVID during this time. Imagine going through everything that some people that didn't have a fire or didn't have a loss and went through COVID. And here's all these families. They're not only exposed to COVID, but are exposed to tragedy time and time again. So I'm just proud of my team for doing the work that needs to be done.
I do often tell people that you do have the best chief of staff in the California State Senate. We love Ezra, works really hard. He's also a Springs resident out here with me, so bonus points for that. I really want to thank you, Senator Dodd, for taking the time, and if we can give him a round of applause. Thank you.